Have you ever felt like you're just, I don't know, caught in a loop, fixing the same problem at work or, in your personal life, only for it to pop right back up?
Oh, yeah, it's so frustrating. Like you're constantly bailing water out of a leaky boat, but never actually finding the hole.
Exactly. And that feeling, it's a classic sign, isn't it?
It really is. It points to a really crucial distinction. Are we just patching symptoms, or are we truly getting to the root of the issue?
And that's precisely what our deep dive today is all about clarifying.
Absolutely. Today, we're diving deep into correction, which is the pivotal fourth step in the GRACE framework.
Right. And for those maybe newer to this, GRACE is that compassionate self-improvement methodology. It helps individuals, even teams sometimes, navigate challenges with um, emotional intelligence and real strategic clarity.
And it moves through those five sequential principles: gentleness, reflection, accountability, correction. That's our focus today. And then finally, embedding.
Correction. This is where all that earlier groundwork really starts to pay off, right?
It totally is. The insights you've gained from reflection, asking what good can come from this.
And the ownership from accountability. What was my part in this?
Exactly. All that now transforms into tangible, actionable solutions. It's the point where you stop just like observing the problem and you start actively building something better.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear then.
Yeah, we want to equip you, the listener, to really master the art of correction so you can stop problems from just coming back again and again.
It's about moving beyond those temporary fixes and actually building resilient systems for sustainable growth,
Mhm.
whether that's in your career, a project, even just your personal well-being.
And by the end of this deep dive, you should be able to really clearly distinguish between a true corrective action and just a quick fix, a Band-Aid.
Okay. And you'll also learn how to apply at least one powerful root cause analysis technique to a challenge you might be facing right now.
Plus, you'll be able to sort of evaluate your own readiness to make these changes stick, getting you prepped for the next step in GRACE.
And crucially, identify at least one specific area, maybe at work or home, where these correction principles can make an immediate difference, like right away.
Mastering correction is so much more than just putting out fires. It's said that most people spend like 80% of their time fixing the same 20% of problems.
Wow, 80/20 on recurring problems. That's huge.
Right. Mastering correction flips that script. It turns that endless firefighting into, well, foundational, maybe even one-time fixes that genuinely free up your mental and emotional energy.
Imagine reclaiming all those hours previously wasted on the same old issues. That's the real payoff here.
That's the true return on investment of this step, definitely.
So let's unpack this a bit. When we talk about correction in GRACE, what are we really talking about?
We're talking about the active step of preventing recurrence, going to the source, addressing root causes, not just, slapping a Band-Aid on a symptom.
So it's about building resilient systems for sustainable growth, not just patching holes.
Exactly. And that's the core distinction, isn't it? A temporary fix might make the immediate pain go away, sure.
But it doesn't solve the underlying issue.
Not at all. You know that grace philosophy?
Mm.
Grace isn't avoiding the fall, it's building a net so the next fall doesn't hurt. Correction is precisely about actively building that net.
Okay, I like that analogy. Building the net.
Yeah. It's the difference between, say, patching a punctured tire just to limp to the next gas station versus actually finding and sealing the hole so it doesn't go flat again.
Or maybe in a customer service situation.
Right. It's addressing an individual complaint versus redesigning the whole process that caused the complaint in the first place. Systemic change.
That makes perfect sense. But, identifying the root cause, it often feels trickier than it sounds.
It really can be. Most of us stop at the first why, mistaking a symptom or maybe just a contributing factor for the actual underlying trigger.
Like your example earlier, consistently missing project deadlines. The symptom is obvious, the missed deadline.
But the root cause might not be lack of time or, I'm lazy. It could be something specific, a pattern, like you always check Instagram right before you try to start that big task.
So it eats into your focus time without you even realizing that's the core issue.
Precisely. And this is where that distinction between a short-term fix and a long-term solution becomes so critical.
Okay, explain that.
A short-term fix is, well, rapid intervention. It's designed to minimize the immediate damage. So for that deadline scenario, a quick fix might be pulling an all-nighter, working late for a week to catch up.
Gets the job done for now, stops the bleeding.
Right. But the long-term solution, that's different. It's a systemic change targeting the root cause instead of just burning the midnight oil again and again.
You maybe redesign your daily routine. Avoid those triggers altogether, like scheduling focus blocks where multitasking just isn't allowed.
Exactly. That's what we call system change, adjusting your environment, your habits, maybe your processes to create a lasting shift. It's fundamental.
And the compassionate part of grace comes in here too, doesn't it? Because it's easy to blame yourself when you find a root cause connected to your habits.
Oh, absolutely crucial. When you're identifying a root cause, that tendency towards self-judgment or blame is strong. But correction, when it's infused with grace's compassion, teaches us to approach these challenges with curiosity, not criticism.
Focusing on understanding the system, not punishing yourself or others.
Yes. That's the non-punitive mindset. It's fundamental to correction.
So practically speaking, before you even act, you shift your thinking. Instead of asking, why did I mess up again? You ask.
You ask, how can I fix this system so it supports me better? How can I prevent this from happening again?
And then afterwards, after you've implemented something.
Then you cultivate confidence. You actually celebrate those small wins when a correction works. It reinforces your belief that you can change things, encourages you to keep going.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense. Let's get into the practical step-by-step process of correction then.
Yeah.
You mentioned 4 phases.
That's right. It unfolds pretty clearly, starting with phase 1, problem documentation.
Sounds basic, but probably overlooked.
Definitely. You need to clearly define the problem. What exactly happened? When? Where? How often does it happen? What are the immediate consequences?
So it's not just saying team communication is bad.
No, that's too vague. It's more like team members frequently miss critical updates that are posted in the Slack channel, and this is leading to duplicated work and confusion. See the difference. Specificity matters.
Got it. Okay, so after documenting, what's phase 2?
Phase 2 is root cause analysis. This is where you really dig in to identify those underlying triggers and patterns we talked about.
Asking why, repeatedly.
Exactly. We'll touch on specific techniques in a minute, but the core question is always, what truly caused this? What patterns exist here?
Then phase 3.
Phase 3 is solution design and evaluation. Here's where you brainstorm. And importantly, you brainstorm both short-term band-aids for that immediate relief and the long-term systemic shifts.
Asking what stops this now and what stops this forever.
Precisely. And then you evaluate those potential solutions. You look at, how feasible they are, what kind of impact they'll likely have.
And phase 4?
Phase 4. Implementation planning. This is where the rubber meets the road. You prioritize the solutions you've chosen and map out the actual steps for putting them into practice.
Including how you'll track if they're actually working.
Absolutely. Tracking is key for knowing if your correction is effective and leading towards that final embedding stage.
Let's make this concrete. Can we walk through that aid example?
Yeah.
The student missing deadlines due to social media?
Sure. So AIDS problem documentation was clear. I missed 2 major essay deadlines this past month because I spent way too much time scrolling Instagram when I should have been working. Immediate consequence, lower grade, way more stress.
Okay, so for root cause analysis, he used the 5 whys.
He did. It went something like this. Why did I miss the deadlines? Because I got distracted by social media.
Okay, first why.
Why was I distracted? Because I checked Instagram right before I planned to start studying.
Ah, the trigger.
Why did I check Instagram then? Because my phone was right there next to me, and honestly, it's just a habit.
Habitual trigger. Keep going.
Why is it a habit? Because I don't really have a clear start work routine, nothing that separates my downtime from my focus time.
Interesting. The final why.
Why don't I have a clear routine? Because I just kind of jumped into tasks whenever I feel like it, pretty haphazardly.
So the root cause wasn't just Instagram. It was the lack of a structured transition from leisure to focused work.
Exactly. That unstructured approach left the door wide open for the distraction habit.
Okay, so then solution design and evaluation. What did he brainstorm?
Well, a short-term fix was obvious. Use a website or app blocker during study times. It immediately cuts off the distraction, stops the bleeding, like you said.
Makes sense. But for the long term?
For the long-term solution, he thought about creating a specific pre-study routine. He considered things like waking up super early, but maybe that wasn't feasible for him. Or meditating for an hour, maybe not directly related to the trigger.
So what did he land on?
He settled on implementing a timed 25-minute morning sprint. He'd tie it directly to finishing his breakfast. It felt feasible, and it directly addressed that root cause, the lack of a structured start.
And the implementation planning?
He decided, eat breakfast, Then immediately start a 25-minute focused study sprint on a task he'd picked the night before. Before checking any social media, he'd use a timer to enforce it.
And then maybe keep the phone out of sight.
Yep, plan to keep his phone in another room during those study blocks. See, it wasn't just about blocking the distraction, it was about redesigning his entire routine to proactively tackle that root cause.
That's a really powerful example of a systemic shift, not just a patch.
It really is. And, think about a time maybe you felt overwhelmed, maybe snapped at someone, reacted in a way you regretted later. What was the root cause of that specific moment? This framework helps you pinpoint it with that same kind of clarity.
Okay, so we've got the mindset, the process, but what about the tools? What do you actually use to put correction into practice effectively?
Great question. Let's dive into some tangible tools that make correction easier, especially for root cause analysis.
We already mentioned the 5 whys technique, which Aid used. Simple, but effective.
Very effective for drilling down. But there are others. Two really powerful ones are the fishbone diagram, sometimes called an Ishikawa diagram, and fault tree analysis.
Okay, tell us about the fishbone diagram.
The fishbone is fantastic for visualizing potential causes, especially when a problem seems to have lots of contributing factors. You draw a central line, the spine leading to the problem, which is the head.
And the bones.
Then you draw bones branching off, representing categories. Common ones are things like people, process, equipment, environment, maybe materials, management. It depends the context.
And under each category.
You brainstorm specific potential causes related to that category. It really helps you map out the whole landscape of possibilities. A customer service team, for instance, could use it to explore why their average call handling time has shot up.
Mapping out factors like training issues, software glitches, maybe called volume spikes.
Exactly. It gives you that broader perspective.
Okay, and fault tree analysis. Sounds more technical.
It is a bit more quantitative, yeah. It's often used in more complex systems like engineering, project management, safety analysis. It works backward from a specific undesirable event or failure.
How does it work?
It uses logic gates like ANY gates where multiple things must fail, or OR gates where any single failure suffices to map out all the possible combinations of lower-level failures or conditions that could lead to that top-level event.
So it's really good for understanding critical paths,
Hmm.
identifying single points of failure.
Precisely. If you're managing a large-scale project launch, maybe, and a specific system failure would be absolutely catastrophic, you'd use a fault tree to rigorously analyze and prevent it.
Okay, so those help find the root cause. What about choosing the right solution once you've brainstormed options?
Right. For solution selection, we mentioned criteria. A really useful tool here is a simple solution selection matrix.
How does that work?
You list your potential solutions down one side. Then across the top, you list your key criteria, things like feasibility, so how easy is it actually to implement? Impact, how much will it actually solve the problem? And trackability, can we measure its success?
And then you score each solution against each criterion.
Exactly. Maybe on a simple 1 to 5 scale.
Yeah,
It helps you objectively compare options and prioritize those actions that give you the best balance of, say, urgency and long-term sustainability. Take some of the guesswork out.
Makes sense. And then for implementation and tracking.
Well, the GRACE framework itself offers a really practical GRACE journal template. It's simple, but forces clarity.
What's the structure?
You just list C, correction,
Oh.
then root cause, identify it, then short-term fix, describe the action, and finally long-term solution, describe the new habit or system. It's a concrete, guided way to apply the whole thought process.
That sounds really useful for personal application.
It is. And of course, in our digital world, apps can help too. You could use something like Notion to create databases tracking root causes and solutions over time.
Or maybe Trello.
Yeah, Trello is great for visualizing progress on system changes. You could set up boards with columns for identified problem, root cause found, solution being tested, correction embedded.
I also like the idea of trigger mapping. Can you explain that again?
Sure. It's about getting really specific about the cues that lead to unwanted behavior. You list the trigger like, after I check my email first thing and the resulting action, I end up scrolling social media for 20 minutes.
And then you design a counter habit.
Exactly. You consciously design a new action to follow that trigger. So after I check my email first thing, I will immediately close the tab and open my priority work document. You're rewriting the automatic script.
Okay, maybe this is a good moment for listeners. Pause and reflect for just a second. How might you use one of these tools, the GRACE journal, maybe a quick fishbone sketch, or even just trigger mapping, to start tackling a small, recurring frustration this week.
Yeah, take a moment. This isn't just abstract theory. It's about practical application, making a real change.
Now, like any powerful process, there must be common pitfalls or challenges people run into with correction. What should we watch out for?
Oh, definitely. The biggest pitfall, and we really can't stress this enough, is only addressing symptoms.
Falling back into just patching things up.
Exactly. If you don't consistently dig for the root cause using tools like the 5 whys or a fishbone, you're just destined to repeat the cycle. You have to go deeper.
What's another common mistake?
Second, neglecting one type of solution. Some people only focus on immediate short-term fixes because they feel urgent. Others might dream up big, abstract, long-term changes but never implement anything concrete now. You need to balance both.
The quick relief and the lasting change. Makes sense.
Third, falling into the blame trap. We mentioned the non-punitive mindset. It's so easy, especially when looking at team issues, to focus on who messed up. But effective correction focuses on fixing the system, not blaming the person.
Critical distinction. What else?
Yeah. Fourth, choosing impractical solutions. This is where that solution selection matrix, thinking about feasibility and trackability, really helps. Don't pick a fix you can't actually implement or measure.
Right. Needs to be realistic.
And finally, fifth, not tracking progress. If you don't measure whether your correction is working, how do you know if it's successful? How do you know when it's time to move towards embedding it as a habit? Tracking closes the loop.
These principles seem really powerful for individual habits, but you mentioned earlier they apply more broadly, like in organizations.
Absolutely. The core ideas of correction root cause analysis, systemic solutions, non-punitive mindset, they scale beautifully to organizational or team challenges.
Can you give an example?
Sure, think about Lena, that mid-level manager we discussed. Her team was having frequent misalignments, tasks falling through the cracks. Her initial thought might have been self-blame. I'm just not a good manager.
But that's likely a symptom, not the root cause.
Exactly. Through reflection, maybe using the 5 whys on herself, she realized the root cause was that she consistently avoided giving direct, timely feedback. And why did she avoid it? Because she had a strong, maybe unconscious desire to be liked by her team, and she feared potential conflict.
So the system of feedback was broken because of her avoidance pattern, which stemmed from that deeper need.
Precisely. So her correction wasn't about somehow magically becoming a different person overnight. It was about a systemic change to her approach.
What did she do?
Her short-term fix might have been simple. Commit to writing down feedback points immediately after observing something, just to ensure they weren't forgotten in the busyness. Immediate damage control.
In the long term, systemic solution.
Her long-term solution involved implementing structured, regular one-on-one meetings with each team member, and critically, building a specific agenda item into those one-on-ones dedicated to open, honest, two-way feedback.
So she created a new system that made delivering feedback expected, routine, and less personally daunting.
Exactly. It wasn't about changing her core personality, but about changing the process and environment for how feedback happened in her team. That led to better alignment, fewer dropped balls, improved team dynamics.
That really highlights how correction builds on the previous gray steps.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
You need the insights from reflection to even start identifying potential root causes.
Yeah.
And you need the ownership from accountability to be willing to examine your own role in the system, like Lena did.
And successful correction then sets the stage for the final step.
Yes. It's the vital bridge to embedding. That's the fifth and final step in the GRACE framework. Correction is where you design and test the solutions. Embedding is where those solutions become automatic, ingrained habits or standard operating procedures.
You're not just fixing anymore. You're fundamentally reshaping your approach, making that positive change effortless and sustainable.
That's the goal. True transformation.
Okay, let's start to wrap up. Could you quickly review the key concepts we've covered about correction?
Sure. At its heart, correction is about transforming setbacks, frustrations, recurring problems into engines for growth. It does this by forcing us to look past the surface symptoms and target the underlying root causes.
And it emphasizes the power of balancing both immediate relief, those quick fixes, with designing systemic, lasting change.
Right. And going through this process, especially with that non-punitive, compassionate mindset, fundamentally builds self-trust and makes you more resilient when challenges inevitably arise.
So before we finish, maybe a quick self-assessment for our listeners. Help them gauge if they're ready for that next step, embedding.
Good idea. Let's run through a quick checklist. Just answer yes or no mentally as we go. First, do you feel you can clearly distinguish between symptoms and root causes in problems you face?
Yes or no?
Second, do you habitually use or feel comfortable using a root cause analysis technique like the 5 whys or maybe sketching out a simple fishbone diagram?
Okay.
Third, when you think about solutions, do you consciously try to design both quick fixes for now and longer-term solutions?
Both, not just one.
Fourth, do you evaluate potential solutions based on practical criteria, like how feasible they are and how much impact they'll have?
Thinking strategically.
Fifth, do you prioritize solutions that are measurable or trackable in some way?
Can you tell if it's working?
Sixth, do you generally approach problem solving with a non-punitive mindset, focusing on fixing systems rather than assigning blame?
Compassion for self and others.
Seventh, do you make an effort to track the success of the corrections you implement?
Closing the loop.
Eighth, can you see how these correction principles could apply not just to personal habits, but also to team or organizational challenges?
Scalability.
Ninth, overall, do you feel a growing sense of confidence in your ability to actually prevent problems from recurring?
Building that self-efficacy.
And 10th, are you feeling ready and willing to commit to making a chosen, effective solution become an automatic, ingrained habit or process?
Ready for embedding. Okay, how do people interpret their scores?
Well, if you answered yes to, say, 8 or more of those questions, that suggests a really strong grasp of correction. You sound ready for embedding.
Fantastic. What about 5 to 7 yeses?
That's solid. It probably means you've got the core ideas, but maybe could benefit from specifically practicing your root cause analysis or your solution selection skills a bit more. Try revisiting 1 or 2 past challenges using these tools.
Good advice. And if someone answered yes to fewer than 5,
No problem at all. It might just mean it would be helpful to circle back and revisit the accountability step in GRACE first. Really ensuring you've taken ownership of your part often needs to happen before you can effectively design solutions in correction. It's a foundational piece.
makes sense. You need that ownership before you can truly correct.
Exactly.
So next time on the Deep Dives, we'll be exploring that exciting fifth and final step, embedding.
Yep, where these solutions stop being effortful fixes and become automatic habits, making growth feel much more effortless.
But for now, there's an action item for you, the listener.
Yes. We challenge you. Before our next deep dive, pick just one correction strategy or tool we discussed today. Maybe it's the Grace Journal template. Maybe it's trying the 5 whys on a nagging issue. Apply it this week.
Put these principles into practice right away. Don't just listen, do.
Absolutely.
As we close, let's bring back that powerful quote one last time. Grace isn't avoiding the fall. It's building a net so the next fall doesn't hurt.
And remember, correction is your active role in weaving that net. It's how you transform every setback, every frustration into an opportunity for genuine strength and growth.
Mastering correction isn't about suddenly becoming perfect or never making mistakes again.
Not at all. It's about compassionate, persistent progress. It's about learning to fix things effectively, systematically, one root cause, one solution at a time.
And to help you with that practical application, you can find a downloadable correction toolkit template plus that assessment worksheet we just went through in the resources section linked with this deep dive.
Definitely check those out. They're designed to help you apply these principles immediately.
We are so glad you joined us for this deep dive into correction. We hope it empowers you on your journey of deeper understanding and continuous self-improvement.